I had this brilliant idea that I was going to do this particular video with my GoPro like strapped to my head. But the damn thing's been charging for like 6 hours. I think it's entirely possible that it's broken. It hasn't been used in a long time. What I need to do in this video, and I'll just have to do it, you know, the old-fashioned way here, is talk about how to adjust on firm banks off the starting points that I talked about in a couple of earlier videos. I've had a few people ask me in comments, you know, if the balls aren't on the line that you've calculated or shown us, how do you adjust? And so I'm going to attempt to do a little bit of that. So first of all, not a sponsor, okay? That's my main disclaimer when I'm wearing a logo shirt, I guess. Second thing is, this is the way I do things. This is not the way you should necessarily do things, or the way, you know, the top bankers do things. This is just me, my channel, and all I know is the way I do things. I don't know how John Brumback analyzes shots and things like that, for example. Don't know. So that's my second disclaimer. Third one is, I usually don't use those, you know, starting points that I talked about in my videos anymore. I found those and developed those and used those when I first started trying to learn how to bank. Nowadays I try to bank mostly by feel. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes I don't have the feel, or I don't have the concentration, and I'll try, but I do try to shoot that way. If it doesn't work, then I have what I feel like are much more legitimate starting points than the whole photon mirror bullshit that I talked about in another video. Having said all that crap, this is the thing about banks. Even if you get balls that sit exactly where I talked about before, adjustments are almost always mandatory on bank shots. Because things change. The weather changes. The weather affects what the balls do on a bank shot. On a regular shot, but on a bank shot certainly. Humidity is a big thing. If it rains all day, like it's been threatening to do here, everything's going to come up a little bit shorter than if it had been dry and sunny all day. You can have every pool hall is going to have a different tables than every other pool hall. Might be the same brand, same manufacturer, everything, but they're all going to play a little bit different. The cleanliness of the balls, the cleanliness of the cloth, how the type of the balls. Now, these are Aramis. I also have a set of Cyclops. They play completely differently. And so those adjustments are necessary. Even if you get something that just happens to lay like exactly on this 50-20 line that I talked about in another video. In here today, because it's been raining or threatening to rain all damn day, this 50-20 line is probably not even good. The ball's going to want to come short. So I have to go to 50 to 19. That's the adjustment that I'm going to make and try it. Again, we're mostly just talking about by feel on this shot. But that's what you do. It's mandatory. Memorizing the shit that I put out on my earlier videos is whatever, half the battle, a third of the battle, whatever the hell it is. It's not, oh goody, now I know how to bank. Maybe you know more about banking than you used to, but very few of us are John Brumback. Very few of us, or Eddie Taylor. What I want to talk about was, given all that, how banks can be adjusted. Some of this may be fairly basic, just from people just playing 9-ball where they notice stuff that happens. And I wanted to set up just a regular shot, just one shot, not have a billion balls out here all clearing shit up. So let's say on this particular day, from this diamond to 2.1, is like my starting point. It's the one I talked about in my earlier videos. So, cool, right? I can influence that. Bang, by, I think just 3 different methods is all I'm thinking of right now. And maybe 4. Is I can shoot it slowly. If I shoot it more slowly, the ball is going to tend to open up more and go long. I can shoot it more firmly. And if I do that, the ball is going to tend to shorten up. No, that time it didn't at all, did it? So we'll try that again. I don't like it when balls make liars out of me, but they do that a lot. Okay, yeah, tend to come short if you hit them harder. I think that's, things that people know. Nothing that I can do, clearly, is I can cut this ball, instead of hitting it straight on, if I cut it to my right, guess what? It's going to go long. Duh, right? If instead of hitting it straight, I cut it to my left a little bit, it's going to come short. There's no big surprises in this. I guess, the trick in it, and if there's no trick in it, is just figure out what the heck you're doing and get a feel for it. Get a feel for it. Along with the cut stuff, we're going to be talking about follow and draw. If I'm going to follow this ball, hit it straight on, but follow it, it's going to tend to come short. It's going to tend to. If I shoot draw the cue ball back, as opposed to a stop shot, which is what I was doing before. Draw the cue ball back, it's going to tend to go long. Guess what's next? Left English, right English. If I don't put center ball on this, I put left English, it's going to widen out. I'm almost done with my adjustment stuff. I put right English on it, instead of hitting it center ball. It's going to tend to come short. Nothing really seems to want to come short in here today. I guess it's a combination of still having fairly new cloth and it's been really humid today, I guess. Don't really know. Don't particularly super care. So you have these variables. This is why I didn't like to bank for a long time, or I was scared to really try to bank, because I knew enough about pool that I knew that there's always freaking variables on a bank shot. If I want to cut this two, or not cut the two, just shoot the two freaking straight in, then guess what? All I have to do is shoot two straight in. But if I want to bank this 5, even though it's ostensibly the same difficulty of a shot as far as hitting the cue ball into the object ball, there's all these other variables. Speed and top follow, left, right, combination of all that stuff that can and do affect the bank shot. Whereas if there was a ball in my way, why didn't y'all tell me there was a ball in my way? I actually didn't think it was in my way. Factors that would not affect a straight-in shot can absolutely affect bank shots, and do absolutely affect bank shots. And those are the kind of things that you just have to get a feel for. And that's the adjustment that I do is try to feel a little bit about what's right. I have a couple of rules that I will generally use, that I'm not going to say all the time. Let's say instead of being straight on this line, that my ball's over here just a little bit. So I have a choice of cutting the 7 back onto this line, or putting left English on the cue ball to get the 7 back on this line. Usually if it's a very slight difference like this, I usually prefer to put a little bit of English on it. And by a little bit, I'm maybe half a tip. I usually prefer to do that. Let's see where that ball hit. If it's just a little bit of a difference, I typically like to use just English. If it's a bigger cut, like this is when I would typically cut the 7 back onto that line. And you can't go back on that line exactly, because this is a cut shot. I'm going to put contact and do spin on the 7, which I have to cut this a little bit more. So instead of cutting the 7 to here, I have to cut it basically about at that diamond, it looks like to me. If I cut it at that diamond, then I might have a good chance of putting the ball in. Might not. No, almost. That's the adjustment process that I use. Typically, if it's a little bit off of what I deem to be a good reference line, then I just use a little bit of English. If it's more than just a little bit, then I would typically cut it. Sometimes, but really very rarely, I don't like to adjust the speed of my banks very much, but I could shoot this shot. This is back to the point where I would have used a little bit of left English. I shoot it dead on, but slowly, that opened up too much. Typically, I don't like to use a lot of speed when I'm trying to adjust bank shots. The only time that I will is if I have to shorten the ball up. And I have to shoot this hard. I don't know if I honestly truly have to or not, but I've kind of learned that I have to shoot this hard to be able to make the bank and not get a double kiss over here. That's about the only time that I'll change my speed. 3 bank shots have 3 speeds. They have that one that I just shot that at, which is a hard speed. They have firm speed, which is what I usually prefer. Well, not usually, what I always prefer. And then they have pocket speed, which only comes up, I think, every now and then in bank pool. In one pocket, it's much more prevalent to shoot a ball at that speed in one pocket and try to get it to hang. About the hardest I ever shoot a shot in bank pool. I'm just going to try this once just for kicks. I'm going to try this 4 rails right here. And this, I have to hit it just about break speed for me. And often it still won't make it. Come on, baby. Yeah, okay, so cool. That's about as hard as I'm ever going to hit a bank. And I'm probably not ever going to shoot that in a game, but you know, I think I had before when I had to. I'm glad that went in on camera. That was cool. I'm not thinking of a whole lot more adjustments, and I'm trying to pad this video out just a little bit. What I thought I would do when I thought my GoPro was going to work was that I could kind of give my thoughts of what I'm doing. Again, I usually play by feel, but I thought, well, I can try to not play by feel and try to play by, you know, a little bit more analyzing stuff. And I was going to come around and look at stuff like, I know this 50-20 line is a good starting point. I know this 40-24, or 40-16, sorry. And this 11 is just about in the middle. So to get to 11 right in the middle, it's a slight cut to my left. So do all that, figure out your speed and all that bullshit. And you know, sometimes the ball goes in. Sometimes you took all these variables that can affect a bank, and you know, you got them right, and the ball goes in. Sometimes you miss by a foot, sometimes you miss by 1.5 inches, like I just did. It just happens. There's no secret, and I wish there was. Or what, 2001? Yeah, 2001. I had Grady down here before Derby City to give me some lessons on bank pool, and I was hoping. Of course, I was young and naive and all that. I was hoping he was going to say, okay, here's the secret to how to bank balls. Most of what he said was, get a good starting point, and then you adjust according to feel and according to the conditions that you're playing in and all that. You get a good starting point, and it becomes, you know, intuition, guesstimation, and things like that. Okay, so that was fine. Then, you know, 10 years later, I got some bank lessons from Truman Hogue. He pretty much told me the same thing right off the bat. Shooting by feel. How do you get that feel? By shooting a bunch, shooting a lot. You can get a good starting point, but the starting point is nothing but that. If your starting point happens to be one that puts a bank in, you know, you kind of got lucky. You have to adjust, and you have to, I keep saying get a feel, you have to do it and make a good guess. Sometimes your guesses are going to be better than at other times. Some players' guesses are better than like mine. It just happens. As you know, I said before, some players are just better than other players. It just happens. It's just the way it is. So, just like I didn't have a secret on what the starting points really are, except for me, my stroke down here on this table, I definitely don't have any secret for how to adjust, because there's so many variables in banks, and you just have to just kind of learn them by doing and know them and start guessing. You're going to guess wrong a lot, but eventually you start guessing better and better, and eventually, hopefully, luckily, you know, you become the kind of banker that you want to become, or you have fun doing it. That's what I try to do. Is I try to have fun with whatever I'm doing down here, so I don't get frustrated and, you know, snap my Cuetec in half and all that bullshit. Life's too short for stuff like that. That's for sure. All right. I think that's this video. I apologize for anyone that wanted a little bit more, but A, I play by feel, and B, once you start talking about making adjustments to banks, it's almost all feel. It's almost all feel. And maybe there's some instructors out there that are good enough to teach that stuff, but I'm not one of those instructors, and I certainly can't be teaching it, you know, by way of YouTube like this. So I'm going to stop now. There, guys.